All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here on the Strickland YouTube channel, Strickland Twitter, and if you're listening to this the day after, Strickland Podcast Network. I am Sam. The Knicks win their final preseason game, 113 to 108. This was the first preseason game that I feel like I watched in full. Um, and yeah, Jalen Brunson is still very good at basketball, so that's a good thing. Um, Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring today's show and all of our shows as always. But yeah, um, the Knicks, they came into this game. Cat didn't start. Josh Hart didn't play. Cat didn't play. Mitch didn't play. OG didn't play. A lot of injury precautions going on with the Knicks, which is good to see. A little bit different from things that we've seen in years past. But yeah, Knicks, they started Mohamed Diawara, Jordan Clarkson, Trey Jemison as well, alongside of Bridges and Brunson. Brunson led the way, of course, with 31 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Mike Brown said this was going to be some sort of like a dress rehearsal game for the Knicks, so that's why you saw a little bit of expanded minutes for guys like Bridges and Brunson. Played a little bit closer to regular season minutes compared to their previous outings in the preseason, where they probably played at least, I think, around like 1.5 of basketball or so. But yeah, I mean, there's actually like quite some things to take away from this game. Brogdon has retired from basketball since the last time we had a preseason post game stream. Um, so that kind of opens the door for things to be a little bit easier, I guess, for the Knicks brass to make the decision and kind of see what Mike Brown is, at least like the way he played guys tonight. It kind of lets you know where things are headed. I think Shamit and Kolek, they're safe for now. And meanwhile, guys like Garrison Matthews and Pacone Dadier that have been names that have been talked about throughout the preseason. They didn't see any time at all tonight. While Kolek played 14 minutes at six points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Looked pretty solid in his minutes, I would say. Um, Especially coming off that 20-point game that he had the other night as well. So he definitely looks a little bit more comfortable on the basketball court, which is different than what we saw in the summer league, which had a lot of people to be concerned. And there was talks of the Knicks brass was caught up between Brogdon and Shamit and Garrison Matthews. I think it was really more so close between probably Shamit and Brogdon. Brogdon, I think they were just looking for some type of steadier veteran presence at the backup point guard spot. But since Brogdon didn't really look the best, I didn't think he looked good at all, really. But Knicks probably thought that he probably did a better job or did a good an okay job, or at least would provide a steady hand at organizing the offense with the second unit. But looks like they're going to have to either rely on Deuce, Jordan Clarkson, or if they really actually want to, Tyler Kolek. We'll see what happens with that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that they'll start the season with, Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride handling that backcourt. And if things go awry, as things probably can with someone as erratic as Jordan Clarkson is, who started off this game pretty good shooting the ball. He was like 4 for 4 to start the game, and then he ended the game 5 for 13. So we saw the good and the bad of Jordan Clarkson tonight, and we'll see how that develops over the season. But yeah, Tyler Kolek, he definitely showed some stuff. Shamit was pretty good in his minutes today too. Played 20 minutes, had 11 points, showing you a lot of what we saw last year. Hitting the threes. And last year he also showed the he can be good on defense in playoff situations. So I think having that continuity of another guy being from last year's team being on this year's team definitely helps out things a bunch. Another person I want to highlight is Mohamed Diawara. He definitely showed some stuff tonight. Was able to take the ball coast to coast. Was active defensively. Had 2 steals. All around stat line looked, showed you a guy that maybe after a year or two in Westchester, this is someone that can be on the main roster. But yeah, 8.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals from him. Took 3 threes, which is very interesting to me. I don't remember if he took threes much in summer league or not, but it's good to see that the guy's comfortable at least trying to expand his range when he's really not known for that. He's more known for his athleticism and stuff like that. So yeah. Is there anyone else I want to highlight? I mean, Yabusele finally hit some threes today. That was pretty encouraging to see. Huckporty played 23 minutes off the bench. And the broadcast really made an effort to show how Cat has been taking Huckporty under his wing. And I think Huckporty is someone that we're going to see a lot more of this year, just because it seems like the Knicks are really going to be trying to manage Mitchell Robinson's workload this year. And I think that's for the best, because not only do you get to see what you have in Huckporty in actual NBA minutes on a somewhat consistent basis, but you also get to save Mitchell Robinson for the playoffs. So, and that's where, he's made his most, impact for us when he's been available. So that's the most important thing. So if Huckporty is someone that can go and, be that center next to Cat and be that backup when needed, that is going to be key. So hopefully, he, makes the most of this opportunity that he'll have this season. Mikal Bridges. I wanted to point out how he was on the offensive glass this more early in this game. He had 3 offensive rebounds the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, stuff like that. He also just looks more comfortable in this Knicks offense. And we all know how last year went with Thibs, and those 2 guys didn't really mesh. So I think this new relationship with Mike Brown is definitely going to be good for him, and hopefully that spreads throughout the team. And if Mikal is able to produce at a much higher level than he did last year offensively, especially, then that makes a world of a difference for the Knicks offense too. I thought Trey Jemison showed, some pretty good solid minutes. I know he played pretty okay on the Lakers last year. So, this is a guy who has played NBA rotation minutes for teams that have at least been trying to be in the playoffs with the Lakers last year. So there's that. And Deuce McBride, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. I thought, Deuce just looks like he's ready for the regular season to start. I think a lot of these guys are ready for the regular season to start. I think us fans are ready for the regular season to start. For me, it's so much harder for me to get into preseason. Now that the Knicks are a contender year in, year out now for the last couple years or so. Because for me, it's just I'm just ready for these games to matter. And after going so far into the playoffs and in the Eastern Conference Finals and having the ending that we had, it's just you're kind of just waiting for all this other stuff to just pass through and waiting to get right back to the to where you were, so you can have some sort of redemption. So I'm sure the players themselves probably feel like this too. But they know that they have to go through the regular season. But us as fans, it's like we were so close to where we wanted to be, and now we have to go through a whole season just to probably get back to that spot once again. So, and for me, preseason is just like it's like you're not really getting much because like guys that could be struggling in preseason, it's like they like once the regular season hits, like it may take a couple games for them to hit their stride, and then they're valid after that. Like they don't have to worry. Like you don't have to worry too much about them. Um, like someone like Yabusele, like he could be struggling right now, but like once we get to the season, it could be just like he's playing much better. He's hitting those threes, those catch and shoot threes. So, you know, I try not to put too much stock into preseason, especially after the last couple years. But yeah, let's get to some comments. We do got some comments here. Shout out to people that are leaving some comments. We do have Jordan Bowe. He brings up Aaron Neesmith's comments today on Zach Lowe's show. Zach Lowe apparently had Neesmith and Obi Toppin, I guess, and they were talking about the Pacers series, the Knicks Pacers series, which I still do not want to really think much about. But Aaron Neesmith, he said that, there was one fan behind our bench chirping all game. I mean, you're at Madison Square Garden. I don't know what the fuck you're expecting. But he said when we started hitting all those threes, he got real quiet. He got quiet real quick. Doing that at MSG where everybody talks so much. They're so rude. It's the greatest feeling in the world to send that crowd home sad like that. Thoughts on these comments? I think the Knicks obviously the Knicks just the only way to shut up these guys is to beat them again, beat them this year, embarrass them. Just embarrass these guys. And just take care of business and get to where you need to go as a team. Like, get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, get to the finals. Like, none of these comments matter if you're able to finish the job, because the Pacers weren't able to. And we all know there's, of course, other factors as to why, but I mean, they still weren't able to finish the job. They lost in Game 7 of the finals, so they do have the right to say these things because they did beat us. God knows that performance is never happening again from Aaron Neesmith, because that was literally a once in a lifetime performance, unfortunately, that we were on the receiving end of. So yeah, but yeah, I thought the comments were annoying by both him and Obi Toppin, and hopefully the Knicks could put teams in their place, because we got a lot of people talking this offseason about the Knicks and whatnot. So Knicks just got to do their job, beat teams, and that will do the talking for them. Jordan Bob also brings up Jaylen Brown's comments. Last year we won a championship. This year I listened to several Knicks fans. To be honest, it's a fucking head scratcher. I don't know how he lost the first 2 games to the Knicks. Well, I mean, he is a big part of the reason why the Knicks were able to beat Boston. All it takes is for him to take a look in the mirror, because he was part of the problem. Can't hit threes, turnovers. That will do it for you in the playoffs. So if he's confused as to why, he can watch the game film all over again. And you can be reintroduced to one Mitchell Robinson, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby. I'm sure they'll love to refresh his memory as to why they lost that game and that series. So from Chris Persianen, Mike Brown praised Mo Diarra, who got to start tonight for his defensive activity. I thought our guy's activity defensively was good for most of the game. Even a young guy like Mo had 3 deflections in a short amount of time, 2 steals. Yeah, like I said, I thought his activity was very encouraging. He's still very raw, of course, but there are some tools there that can be worked with, and you're hoping that within the Westchester Knicks system, like we've seen in years past with someone like a Deuce McBride, that some time down there will prove to be valuable in his development and you know, you know, possibly lead to him being a rotation guy or something. So we'll see what happens on that end. He's 20 years old, so still very young, and there's time to work on a lot of things. And I don't think there should be any rush with a guy like him. He can come in after the fact and make his impact on the team if need be years down the line or so. Let's see what else we got. Shout out to Jordan Bubbly and some comments from the timeline. From Chris Persianen, Mike Brown on the final preseason W. I thought we did some pretty good things tonight, especially starting two young guys in Mo and Trey, but we played spurts too many times. We got to be a little more consistent. If we do, we're going to have a chance to be pretty good. He also asked me thoughts on the injuries on the Knicks and which injuries concern you the most out of the four who didn't play tonight. I think all of the injuries were precautionary. It's funny. There's been a running joke on the timeline the last day or so is that it's kind of apparent that last year's team didn't really practice because like this year the guys are actually getting hurt in practice, which means they're actually like practicing. So take that for what you may. But I don't think any of the injuries are too concerning. I think with Mitch, it's actually encouraging that the team has some sort of plan to manage his workload throughout the year. I think that's smart. We know that he's somebody that can get injured pretty often. And if he's not available when it matters the most, then it's like, what's the point? But yeah, Mitch being healthy is key to this team, especially defensively in the playoffs. So, you're hoping that this plan that this team has works out and is able to keep Mitch as fresh as possible for some summer hoops, some spring/summer hoops. Josh Hart doesn't really concern me. The only thing that concerns me is about his, finger shooting. He already can't really shoot much, and if you're putting this big splint on, that massive finger that he has, then yeah, it's going to be rough. OG are always kind of a little bit on the side of caution. And you're always a little bit concerned about him health-wise just because of his past. Thankfully, last year he was able to be relatively healthy. You're hoping that's the same for him this year as well. And Cat, it seemed like it was a precautionary thing. So I would say probably Josh and maybe OG if I were to really pick if any of them really do concern me. But I think they'll all be pretty okay for opening night. Maybe not Josh Hart, but I think most of them should be. Jordan Bob, Ian Begley, Mike Brown, and Mikal Bridges. He's first team all defender. It's obvious. Credits Bridges for doing things that don't show up on the stat sheet. And also notes that Bridges next play speed going from offensive to defensive possession is elite. Apologies for the yawning. Oh my god. Teaching for this week, even though it was a short week, is very exhausting. But yeah, no. I think, Mike Brown and Mikal Bridges' relationship is going to be something that is going to be very interesting to watch as the season goes on, because we know how Mikal and Thibs got along or did not get along, for better words there. So yeah, I think that it seems like these two are on the same page, and that will help bring out the best in Mikal Bridges that we didn't get to see, especially probably offensively this coming year. So yeah. Also, Mike Brown says I'm a paint touch spray guy. So you're going to be seeing a lot of the Knicks trying to probably get as much paint touches as possible, trying to spray out to open shooters. Matter if the Knicks can actually, hit those threes, because that was lacking severely through preseason, even the games that I was barely paying attention to. The Knicks were not hitting a lot of threes. Seems like today they actually kind of finally did hit those threes. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. They hit 18 out of 48 threes today. So definitely a little bit much better than the previous games. And, maybe carry that momentum into Wednesday. Brandon Williams says Daddy is a work in progress, but Diawara seems NBA ready compared to him, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Diawara looks he seems very toolsy and he seems like he is able to at least contribute if you're able to contribute defensively, I feel like that's a really great step, and that allows you to have a little bit more of an easier path to playing. Pacome seems a lot more offensively oriented, but it's not quite there yet, and the defensive activity is not to the level of a Diawara, so it would probably seem more likely that a Diawara ends up on the court sooner than Dadier in actual NBA run, just because of what he can do defensively on the side of that ball. So I feel like that's very important. And yeah. Chris Preston also brings up that Mike Brown revealed post game that he used DK Metcalf's chase down of Buda Baker as teach tape for the Knicks. Says he watched that play 100 times, and the intended takeaway was to not give up on plays, especially after turnovers, and to flip that switch ASAP. I feel like that's something that has to be really drilled into this team's head, because I feel like a lot of the times over the past couple of years, even with like several different iterations, well, not even different iterations, I feel like last year's team was more so like that, like a lot of complaining and a lot of like crying to the refs. I feel like that's the most we've ever seen a Knicks team kind of like cry and like give up on plays because of that. Maybe some of those Julius teams did it a little bit more, but maybe it was just maybe specifically him. But I feel like last year a lot of Josh, Cat, even Brunson sometimes got into the habit of just complaining a lot and giving up plays because of that. So something to really think about there as well. All right. Jordan Barber also brings up Ian Begley's comment from Mike Brown saying that he wanted to keep Jalen Brunson and McCall at around 34 minutes tonight, which is around where he wants to play them in the regular season. All right, let's see if he can, stick to that. Right there, he kind of, puts himself in a position where, if he starts playing these guys, an absorbent amount of minutes, they're going to be like, well, you said 34 minutes. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. I don't know what they were at last year. If they were similarly, someone could let me know in the comments or not. Um, but yeah, I wonder what the rotation's going to look like. How many guys are going to play from game one? Like, is he going to go 9-man, 10-man rotation? Is he going to try Kolek? Like, these are the things that's like, because I low key wanted to see, like, if today was going to be a dress rehearsal, I low key wish we kind of saw, the full team suit up so that we could really get like a glimpse of like what this guy's, where this guy's mind is at, especially for, rotation and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens game one, who's available, who's not, what the rotations look like, et cetera, et cetera. So. Mike Brown also reveals that he wanted to play 10 guys tonight. So if tonight was a dress rehearsal, let's see. starting five probably going to be Jalen Brunson, McCall, OG, Cat, Mitch. That's five right there. Off the bench, Clarkson, Hart, Deuce, Yabu, and Huckworthy. That's the 10. Solid 10. Solid 10. Solid 10. Pretty solid 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What you guys think the rotation will end up looking like for game one at least. Let's see what else we have to. He says, I went and wanted to play 10 guys. I have a minute sheet that I did want to try and play the guys that I wanted to take a look at. For instance, a guy like Mo, he's 19, 20. He got to start at MSG. I got to look at the other 8 guys I wanted to take a look at tonight. So, yeah. Let's see if he actually, starts the season with an 8-man rotation, 10-man rotation or not. We kind of got pretty used to 9-man rotations in the NBA. So, from him at least, or from Thibs. So we'll see what Mike Brown, has to offer on that end. I think it kind of helps that the Knicks did some things to improve their depth this offseason. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm excited that the regular season is finally going to start. Games are going to matter. Finally do some NBA betting. Shout out to FanDuel over there in the corner, right there. Yep, right up there, FanDuel. I'll definitely be using them this season, of course, as I always do, to place my NBA bets. And you should too. But yeah, no, what else is there to talk about from this game or from the Knicks in general? I'm trying to think. My brain is a haze. The one thing that actually, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this season is probably Jordan Clarkson and what happens with that. He's very much more erratic than I expected, I guess. I thought he would at least kind of settle down a little bit. And maybe he does in the regular season, but it's been very interesting, the Jordan Clarkson experience so far. And is he going to be someone that, will show up in the playoffs or whatnot? So, all right. I don't know if there's anything else really much to talk about. I feel like we kind of know who's going to make the Knicks roster. Garrison Matthews, it was, nice knowing you. But I think Shamit is here to stay. Trey Jemison, I think. Who are actually the guys that are on the two ways for the Knicks? Because I don't even remember who are the two-way guys. Knicks two-way contracts. There we go. I believe the Knicks teams get 3 two-way contracts now too, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, someone can. Interesting. It says here that the Knicks have already filled all their 3 two-way contracts with Kevin McCullough Jr., Trey Jemison, and Tozan Evbumwan. Sorry, I probably butchered the hell out of that last name. But yeah, those are the guys that the Knicks have signed to two-way contracts. So interesting. Let me just check Spotrac to see if that's official and whatnot. But Looks like Trey Jemison, he'll, be sticking around with this team. Yep, Trey Jemison, Tozan Evu Bowman, and Kevin McCullough Jr. So yeah, we'll see what happens with those guys, and if the Knicks, want to switch any of them out or anything like that. All right. I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. I tried to stick on a little bit longer than I did last game, just because there was a lot much more to notice from this game and just a little bit more to talk about. Shout out to Jordan Bub dropping some comments in. Keeping me updated what's going on in the timeline, because I cannot multitask or multi-focus for the death of me, so there's that as well. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be on for opening night, because I might go out and watch it or even try to go to the game. We'll see if FanDuel can be kind to me in these parlays. So yeah, everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. And go Knicks. Enjoy opening night. I will either be on here or I'll catch you guys on the timeline or outside. Peace.